Have you ever heard of the toll collector? It's one of those urban legends that gets passed around in small towns, an old bridge, a mysterious figure, and a toll you should never pay. But what if I told you? The legend is real. Before we begin this first-person horror story, make sure to subscribe if you love ghost stories, creepypasta-style tales, and real-sounding paranormal encounters. All right, let's cross the bridge together. Just don't stop to pay. You ever hear a story that sounds so damn stupid you can't help but laugh at it? That was me, about 2 weeks ago. Sitting in my cousin's backyard with a cheap beer in my hand and a smirk on my face while the old-timers passed around the same local legends they probably tell every summer. Stories about strange lights in the fields, things moving in the woods, even one about a woman who lived up near the ridge who could curse you with just a look. But the one that got the most serious reaction, the one that shut everybody up real fast, was about the bridge. They called it Miller's Bridge, though no one could tell me who the hell Miller was. It's a narrow old stone bridge, just wide enough for one car, barely holding itself together over the shallow trickle of a creek that's been dry more years than not. No guardrails, no streetlights, just a sagging sign with fading white paint.
Pay your toll.
Now, that sign's nailed to an old oak tree right before the bridge, and just beneath it, a rusty tin box duct taped to the trunk. People, actual adults, drop coins into it before crossing. Seriously. Loose change, folded bills. Hell, someone said they once saw a guy leave a chicken feather and a copper ring. Like this is some kind of fairy tale. So, naturally, I laughed. Loud. Too loud, maybe. It was just so absurd. You people really still believe in that garbage? I asked. The toll collector? That name alone made me chuckle, but nobody else was laughing. My cousin Nate leaned in. He's not a dramatic guy, not into ghost stories, not even into church. But his face had this tightness to it, like he was choosing his words real carefully. No one's saying there's a ghost standing there with a receipt pad. Dan, he said. It's just, things happen when you cross without paying. Bad things. Like what? I pressed. He just shook his head. We don't talk about that. Which, of course, is code for. Now I have to find out that I should say this before I go further. My name's Daniel Price. I'm 34. Born and raised in Cleveland, now living in Chicago. I work remote in analytics. I'm rational. I'm not someone who jumps at shadows or buys into local nonsense. But that night, just to be a jackass, I got into my rental and drove straight for that bridge. It was a little after 11 p.m. Sky was clear. Not another car on the road. Took about 20 minutes to get there. Past the cornfields, past the turnoff for the old feed store, then onto a dirt road that got so narrow I almost turned around. But there it was, Miller's Bridge, and the sign, just as described. Pay your toll. The box looked even more ridiculous in person. Rusted shut, tape peeling off. And beside it, because I swear I couldn't make this up if I tried, was a little stack of pebbles. Like someone had left stones as payment. I didn't pay. Obviously. I drove across, nice and slow, headlights bouncing off the trees. No apparitions. No moaning winds. No hands clawing up from under the bridge. Just silence. For a second, I thought maybe I'd seen a shape on the far side of the bridge, something tall and thin, standing dead center, but it vanished the moment my headlights touched it. Probably just a tree. Maybe my imagination. I went back to Nate's place, smug as hell. Told him I crossed it. Didn't pay. And I was fine. He didn't laugh. No one did. The next morning, things started off. First, I couldn't find my keys. Not in the kitchen, not in my jeans, not in my duffel bag. I turned the whole damn guest room upside down. They were in the passenger seat of my car. Now, I know what you're thinking. Maybe I left them there. Maybe I was tired. Sure, that was my thought too. No big deal. But then I heard the coins. I was walking through Nate's backyard, headed for the shed where he keeps some fishing gear. And clear as day, behind me, clink, 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 like someone shaking a tin full of quarters. I turned. Nothing. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of the sounds. I didn't hear anything. Just this pressure. Like the house itself was holding its breath. At 2:13 a.m., I got out of bed. Don't ask me why. I walked to the window, pulled back the curtain, and saw someone standing by the bridge. I could see the road from the second floor. Not clearly, it's a good 300 yards off, but there was no mistaking it. There was a figure there, still, upright, too tall, not moving, not watching, just waiting. I didn't tell Nate. Not then. I still thought I was just winding myself up. You hear stories, your brain fills in the blanks. The next day, I asked around. I went into town, got a coffee, talked to some folks who looked like they'd lived there long enough to know something. One of them, a woman named Evelyn, said she hadn't driven that road in 20 years. He takes his payment one way or another, she told me, is not quite meeting mine. If you don't offer something, he'll choose for you. I asked her who he was. She just shook her head. Another guy, Ray, ran a little antique store, told me the old story. Back before the war, he said, there was a man who kept watch over that bridge. He collected toll from anyone crossing. Not much, just a penny, a scrap of food. Something. He said it wasn't for him. It was for them beneath the water. Said if they weren't fed, they'd come take. Naturally, no one believed him. Not until people started going missing. They found his body strung up from the tree with the box, tongue cut out, coins shoved in his mouth. After that, the disappearances stopped for a while. Then came the dreams. The accidents. The echoes. That's when people started leaving coins again. Ray didn't smile once during this story. Not even a smirk. And me? I was starting to sweat. I know how it sounds. Hell, if someone told me this, I'd be rolling my eyes. But I'm telling you, it felt real. Too real. I couldn't shake it. That night, I had the worst dream I've ever had in my life. I was standing on the bridge. It was pitch black, no stars, no moon. I was alone. And then I heard it clink, 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 and then a whisper right next to my ear, in a voice that was old and dry and full of rot. You owe. I woke up with blood in my nose and a coin in my hand. A coin I'd never seen before. Worn smooth. No markings. Ice cold. That was 3 nights ago, and I haven't slept since. There's something about sleep deprivation that tears holes in your reality. Colors look off. Sounds get sharper. You start seeing things out of the corners of your eyes. Little flickers, shadows where there shouldn't be any, people who aren't people. I hadn't slept more than an hour or two since the night I woke up holding that coin. And every night, the dream came back. The same bridge, the same black sky, the same sound, clink, clink, clink. Only now, there were footsteps too. Slow, heavy, deliberate. Coming closer, always behind me, and that voice, you owe. I stopped telling people. No one wanted to hear it. Nate told me to see a doctor. Evelyn wouldn't answer her door. Even Ray, the old man from the antique store, looked through me like I'd already died and just hadn't noticed yet. I tried to throw the coin away. I left it on a diner table, walked out, got halfway down the block, and there it was. In my pocket again. I burned it, lit the damn thing up with a torch Nate had in the shed. It screamed, not literally, but the fire made a sound I've never heard before. A kind of wail that came from under the flame. The coin turned black, melted. The next morning, I found it on my pillow. Good as new. By that point, I wasn't laughing anymore. You'd think I'd just pay the toll, right? Just go back to the bridge and drop a coin in the box. But it's not that simple. Not after you've crossed without paying. You only get to offer once. If you skip it, if you mock it, if you break the unwritten rules, then he gets to choose the toll and you don't get to say no. I started hearing about other people. A woman from 3 towns over crossed the bridge on a dare. Car flipped into the ditch 2 days later. No skid marks. No reason. Just gone. A guy who laughed it off like I did. They found him in his basement, drowned. No water source nearby. Mouth stuffed with coins. Every story had the same pattern. Denial, defiance, regret, and then payment. I couldn't let that happen to me. I didn't know what he wanted, not really. But I started to understand one thing. It wasn't about the coin. It was about the offering. A recognition, a gesture, a sign of respect or fear. Didn't matter which, and I had spat in his face. It was Nate's kid who got me moving again. His name's Mason, 7 years old. Funny little dude. Loved dinosaurs, always had dirt on his face. He thought I was cool just because I had a Bluetooth speaker and knew how to whistle with my fingers. The night I saw Mason talking to someone who wasn't there, I knew it had gone too far. I found him out by the edge of the woods, maybe 30 feet from the house, standing perfectly still, whispering. When I called out to him, he didn't even flinch, just kept murmuring. I got closer. His voice was soft, rhythmic, like he was repeating something word for word. I knelt beside him. Mason, buddy, who are you talking to? He didn't look at me, just pointed at the trees. The man with the bag of coins, he said. My skin went cold. I turned toward the woods. Of course, there was nothing there, but I swear, I heard the coins. Clink, clink, clink. I packed my things that night. Told Nate I had a meeting back in Chicago. Hugged the kid. Promised I'd visit again soon. Lied through my teeth. I wasn't going back to the city. I was going back to the bridge. It was just after midnight when I got there. No moon. No wind. Just me and the crickets and that old, sagging sign. Pay your toll. The box was still there. I stood in front of it, breathing hard, sweat cold on my neck. Then I did something I hadn't done since I was a kid. I said I was sorry. I didn't know who I was talking to. Maybe no one. Maybe something older than the dirt under my feet. But I meant it. I took the coin from my pocket and placed it in the box. Nothing happened. No thunder. No glowing lights. Just silence. I turned to leave, and that's when I saw him. He was standing on the bridge, exactly where I had seen that shape the first night. Tall. Unnaturally tall. Shoulders too broad. A long coat that seemed to shimmer between cloth and shadow. I couldn't see his face, but I saw the bag in his hand. A battered leather pouch, heavy with metal. I could hear it from here. Clink, clink, clink. I didn't move. I couldn't. He raised his other hand, pale, long-fingered, and pointed at me. Then he opened the bag. The sound of coins crashing together was deafening, and inside that sound, voices, whispers, screams, please, and one that I recognized as mine. He let the bag swing closed. The sound stopped. Then, slowly, he stepped backward and vanished into the dark. I don't remember driving back. I don't remember getting into the car, but when I woke up, it was morning, bright, peaceful. No coin in my hand, no voice in my head. Just birds and wind and the smell of wet grass. I thought maybe it was over, but I was wrong, because 2 nights later, Mason disappeared. I wish I could tell you we found him. I wish I could say Mason wandered off and came back with dirty hands and a sheepish grin, asking for apple juice like nothing had happened. But that's not what happened. What happened is, I woke up to my phone vibrating at 3:17 a.m., and Nate's voice was hoarse and frantic. "He's gone," he said. "He's not in his bed." I was already halfway out the door. The cops came. The dogs came. The neighbors came. They scoured the woods, the riverbanks, every barn and shed for miles. Nothing. Not a footprint. Not a scrap of fabric. Not a broken branch. It was like the earth had swallowed him. And I knew it was me. It was my toll. I went back to the bridge. That I don't know what I was hoping to find. Another coin? Another whisper? Another chance. But the bridge was quiet. Empty. I stood there, staring into the woods across the river, and it hit me. He didn't just take Mason, he collected him, like a debt. And if the stories were true, if he had taken others, there had to be something left behind. So I started digging. Not literally at first. Research, old articles, missing persons cases in a 20-mile radius. Then I branched out. The pattern was always the same. Always near the bridge. Always someone who crossed at night. Always followed by dreams, sightings, strange behavior. Then vanishing. I even found a report from 1963 about a man who claimed to see a collector of fairs walking through his fields at dusk, whispering in a language he couldn't understand. They put him in a sanitarium. He was found dead a week later, mouth full of river stones. I started to believe there were layers to this. That the toll collector wasn't just a ghost. He was part of something older. A ritual, maybe an exchange, and I'd broken it. I started having the dreams again. Only this time, they were different. The bridge was still there, but the surroundings had changed. The trees were taller, wrong, somehow. Moving without wind, and there were others on the bridge now. Silhouettes, dozens of them. Men, women, children, all facing the same direction, all watching him. The collector. He didn't look at me. He didn't have to. I was on the wrong side of something I couldn't name, and I was starting to understand what he wanted. You know how you beat a legend? You don't. You obey it. But maybe, you can bargain with it. That was the idea. That's what I told myself. If Mason was the toll he took, maybe I could offer another. Maybe I could trade something else. And maybe, just maybe, he'd give Mason back. I had to try. So I went to Ray, the old man from the antique shop. He didn't look surprised when I walked in. He just nodded, like he'd been expecting me. "You've seen him," he said. I nodded. He motioned for me to follow him to the back room. The smell of old wood and dry paper hit me like a wall. Ray pulled out a box. Inside was a journal, cracked leather, bound with twine. He untied it carefully, like it might bite him. "Belonged to the last man who survived the toll," he said. "That we know of." The journal was a record of crossings, dates, names, offerings. Some were coins. Others were sacrifices, blood, teeth, secrets. Some offered parts of themselves, memories, voices, dreams. One woman gave her shadow. The toll collector took them all, and in return, they got to live. I read that journal cover to cover, twice. Then I made my decision. I wouldn't offer someone else that I'd offer me. Not my life, exactly, but something just as costly. My name, my memories, my place in the world, whatever it took. So here's what I did. I went back to the bridge one final time, just before midnight. The journal said the offering must be freely given and named out loud. I knelt beside the toll box and I spoke the words slowly, clearly, with every ounce of sincerity I had. I offer you my face, my identity, my history. Let it be the toll. And then I waited. The woods held their breath. And then he came. No footsteps. No rustling leaves. He just appeared right behind me. Closer than ever before. I could feel his breath. He whispered one word. Accepted. I woke up on the riverbank. Alone. I checked my pockets. The coin was gone. My phone? Wiped clean. No contacts. No photos. Not even my own number. I drove back to Nate's house. He didn't recognize me. Called the cops. Thought I was some drifter. I asked about Mason. He looked confused. Said he didn't have any kids. Said he and his wife had tried for years but never had any luck. I went to Evelyn. Same thing. She remembered my face, but not my name. Didn't know why I looked familiar. At the town diner. No one knew me. No records of my name. No license. No ID. It was like I'd been erased. But that night, I walked past Nate's house. Just to see, and in the window, Mason, alive, laughing, coloring with crayons. He looked happy. He didn't remember me, but he was safe. So now you know what I gave up, what I traded, who I used to be, and who I am now. That's a harder question to answer. I walk through this town like a ghost. Not invisible, exactly, just forgettable. People see me, but they don't see me. They forget my face within minutes. Conversations slip like water through their fingers. I rent rooms, eat meals, buy gas. But no one remembers I was ever there. I don't belong anywhere anymore. Not even to myself. But Mason's alive. He's thriving. That should be enough, shouldn't it? There are side effects, though. Things the journal didn't warn me about. At first, it was just dreams. Not the same ones as before. These are darker, lonelier. The bridge again, yes, but now I stand on the other side. The collector's side, and sometimes I hear him whispering in my voice. I don't know what he's saying, but it sounds familiar, like something I used to know. Then, the waking hours started changing. I'll be walking through a gas station and see myself in the mirror, but the reflection doesn't move with me. It lags, or it smiles when I don't. Once, I saw myself standing in a field off the highway, just staring at me. Same clothes, same everything. Then I blinked, and he was gone. And there are the coins. They started appearing in my coat pocket, one at a time, each stamped with different years. Some I don't even recognize, like they're from a future that hasn't happened yet. I tried throwing them away, burning them, burying them. They always come back. I think I'm becoming something else, not like the collector, not yet. But I'm tethered now, tied to the bridge. To the bargain. To the toll. It's not a one-time deal. It's a cycle, a loop. And I wonder if that's what happened to the last person who survived, if that journal was his warning, not his victory. Because sometimes I feel it, deep down, this pull toward the bridge, like a dog returning to the place it was broken. And every time I go back, I hear footsteps that aren't mine. The worst part, I think the toll collector is getting tired. Tired of waiting. Tired of wandering. And maybe he's looking for a replacement. I went back last week, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. The dreams had gotten louder, the whispers more frequent. My reflection started moving when I didn't. I stood on that bridge, in the dark, the river thick and black below, and I saw him. But this time, he didn't move. He just stood there, watching me, and I understood something all at once. This isn't about debt. This is about continuity. There always has to be a collector, and once you pay the toll, part of you never stops collecting. So now I walk highways at night, back roads, bridges. I look for the signs, the flickering lights, the rusted coins, the smell of river water where there shouldn't be any. Sometimes people see me and flinch, like they almost remember something they've never lived. Sometimes they don't see me at all. But I watch. I wait. And sometimes I take things, small things at first. Forgotten names, lost keys, childhood memories no one misses. Other times, I take more. A song you used to hum but can't recall. A face you once loved but can't picture. A child who vanished without a trace. You might think I'm a monster. Maybe I am. But if you'd heard the voice of a boy crying for help in the dark, if you'd seen a father fall apart in front of you, if you'd known you could trade everything for someone else's tomorrow, wouldn't you have done the same? Wouldn't you pay the toll? So if you ever find yourself on a road that feels too quiet, if the bridge ahead looks older than it should, if the air grows thick, and your headlights flicker, and a man steps into your path holding out his hand, don't stop. Don't slow down. Don't make eye contact. And whatever you do, don't pay the toll, because once you do, you'll never truly leave, and someone will be telling your story next. So, what do you think? Was it just a legend? Or do you believe there's really someone or something waiting on that bridge? Let me know in the comments. Would you have paid the toll if you enjoyed this urban legend horror story? Give it a like and share it with someone who enjoys paranormal stories and creepy narration. And don't forget, there's always a price. Subscribe so you never miss the next tale, because you never know